Hello and welcome to IP Study video lectures. Today we are going to discuss chapter number 17 of grade 7 social science. The chapter name is Understanding Equality. Now, equality is considered a very fundamental principle of a democratic society. A quick revision. What is a democracy? A democracy is a government where we elect our own representatives, our own leaders to take decisions on our behalf, right? But who selects these leaders? Is it a selected few people? Is it a one community? Is it people of one religion? No. It is the entire population, all the adults living in the country that go and vote for the people who ultimately become the leaders of the country, right? So, in a democracy, it is important that there is equality, that everyone have the equal opportunity to decide who is going to lead the country. And that is not enough. We also need equality in opportunities. We also need equality in the way we treat each other, right? And that is why we say equality is a fundamental principle in a democratic country, right? So, even if we talk about India, our country has always focused on the principle of equality. Like look at this preamble of the Indian Constitution. You can see different principles which are listed here, and I'm going to focus on the line where it says equality of status and opportunity. So how people are treating you and what kind of access you have to different opportunities like education, healthcare, employment, there has to be equality in all those things. Now let us move on and discuss different dimensions or different aspects of equality. First of all, we have the concept of political equality. It is the most basic form of equality. Why? Because it simply means that we as citizens of India have the right to participate in the political processes of the country. It's a very simple concept. Political process or political participation simply means that we can go and vote for the person we want to. We can go and stand in elections as well. And we can also have our political opinions. Today in the day of digital media, whether it's through YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, we are entitled to our political opinions about different political parties and party leaders, right? So we have that much of political freedom in our country, and all that is a part of political equality. Here, the concept of one person, one vote is very important to understand. So, whether it is a prime minister of the country, or it is a doctor sitting in his cabin, or whether it is a sweeper, everyone has the right to cast their vote. And the value of their vote is same no matter which profession, which place they are sitting in, right? So, whatever your background is, your religion, your caste, your gender, your ethnicity, it does not matter. Everyone have the same vote and same value for that vote, right? And this principle is followed in all the democratic countries in the world, and it is called as universal adult franchise, right? Universal means that everyone has the access to this. Adult means, of course, it is not applicable to children. So it is a certain age. In some countries like India, it is 18 years of age. In some other countries, it might be 20 or 21. But yes, if you are in that age group, you are entitled to vote, and this is given to everyone, right? In a country like India, we followed the principle of universal adult franchise since our independence. If you look at many developed countries as well, like you look at France, you look at USA, they were independent before us, or they had a proper governing system before us, but it was much later on that they gave everyone the right to vote. Like in USA, it was not till 1960s that the Afro-Americans got the right to vote. In a country like France, it was not until 1940s that the women got to right to vote, right? So even in Britain in 1920s, women got right to vote, not before that, even though it was a very big superpower in the 19th and the 20th century. So India, despite being you can say a little illiterate country, a poor country at the time of independence, we still gave everyone, the 17 crore eligible voters, the right to vote. So it was a big achievement for our country, right? Like you can look at this trivia. New Zealand was one of the first countries to give their women voting right in 1893, and after that there was a women suffrage movement in different parts of the world where women demanded for their rights, and they eventually got it during the 20th century, right? Now let's move to the second important aspect of equality, and that is social equality. So political equality is very important. Everyone should have the right to vote, but it is not the only thing that matters. Even if everyone have the same voting right, it does not mean that they have the same access to education, healthcare, and different opportunities in our country. You might have seen that. You would see that different people earn differently, different people have go to different schools. So there is inequality in every society, and the question is, why is there that kind of inequality? If you look at our country, in particular, we will see that there has been a very prevalent caste system, right? People of the so-called upper castes have always enjoyed more resources in the society. They have got better education, better opportunities, and that is why generation after generation their wealth, their opportunities have increased, their status has increased in the society. Whereas the people who were in the so-called lower caste, they have not got those opportunities and not got the same kind of respect as those people. And now, as we have become independent, now that there is educational opportunities for everyone, we have more people living in cities, doing jobs together. That problem has reduced a little bit, but not completely vanished away. And that is why we need implementations of law, we need proper enforcement of government initiatives and policies, so that we can ensure that no matter what your religion, your race, your gender, your ethnicity is, you are getting the same kind of respect, same kind of dignity as the individual sitting next to you, right? So that is why social equality is important. Now let us move to the next aspect of equality, and that is economic equality. Now economic equality does not mean that everyone will have the same earning potential, that everyone will have same income, or it does not even mean that they will do the same kind of occupation. In fact, economic equality means that you have the freedom to pursue any kind of occupation. It means that you have the opportunities or the access to any kind of earning opportunities, right? If you look at the problem of lack of social equality in our country, the caste system, it was made on the basis of occupations. So the son of a farmer will become a farmer. The son of a weaver will become a weaver. The son of a pandit will become a pandit. So because of that, their earning capabilities were also fixed. Because obviously a person who is a doctor will not be earning same as the person working as a compounder in the same hospital. So your caste was determining what kind of occupation you will have, and related to that what kind of income you will earn, right? But now, because our constitution promises us that there shall be economic equality, everyone will have an equal access to earning capabilities. So a son of a farmer, if the son of a farmer is capable enough, he can become a doctor or an engineer, and the income will also increase for that particular family, right? So that is the meaning of economic equality. Very important aspect of economic equality is equal pay for equal work. This principle means that, again, no matter which kind of background you belong to, which kind of gender do you will have equal income as the person who is as another person who is in that particular occupation, right? Now let us discuss the government initiatives related to equality. So our government from time to time has brought different laws and different acts to ensure that there is equality in the society. One of these is Right to Education Act. Now, education, as we discussed in our previous example, that if a son of a farmer becomes a doctor, the income level of that particular family will increase. So education actually empowers people. If you get good enough education and skills, you can ensure that your family income increases from a particular level to another level, and there could be substantial growth if you actually succeed in your life. So education empowers people, and that is why right to education is now a fundamental right of every citizen. When the constitution was framed, there was no provision for right to education as a fundamental right, but now everyone who is in the age group of 6 to 14 years has the access to free and compulsory education. It's important to understand that it is free and compulsory education. It is not the private schools. I will just clarify that your private schools can charge different fees, but if you go to any public institution, any government school, then you have this opportunity to access free and compulsory education, right? Now, next very important is Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao. So you would see when you visit outside many hoardings regarding this campaign of the government. Many trucks will have this lines written. Why is this campaign important? Because for many years, even after independence, we see that the female child was not preferred. Many parents did not want the female child, and they did not provide them with equal opportunities as their sons. They did not give them education. So that is why this awareness campaign is very crucial to ensure equality between both the genders in our country. And we can say there is a lot of improvement in this regard. Because if you look at the sex ratio, which means the number of females per males in our country, it has increased, it has improved a lot since 2011 census, which was the last census conducted. So it has improved a lot. But yes, we still want to ensure that more and more girls get a good education, and the parents are willing to spend as much as they spend on their sons' education in our country, right? Now, Equal Remuneration Act. Again, very important. Earlier, what was happening in our country, and in fact in many parts of the world, there was a gender pay gap. Means if there is same kind of work that is performed by men and women, it were the men who were getting higher income for that work. So to ensure that there is equal pay for equal work, this act was enacted in our country as well in 1976. Next is Hindu Succession Amendment Act, right? So in 1956, we had a Hindu Succession Act because we wanted to ensure that all the sons in the family were getting equal access to their father's property, because there is a lot of rivalry among the children when it comes to who will get the inheritance from their fathers. But where is the right for daughters? And to correct this problem, Hindu Succession Amendment Act was enacted in the year 2005, where it was ensured that not only the sons but also the daughters will have an equal access to their father's property, right? Because earlier what used to happen, say there is a woman, she is living in her father's family, and it is the son of that family, her brother, who is getting access to the father's property. And when she gets married, it is her husband who is getting the access to her father-in-law's property. So what does the woman own in this case? So to solve this problem, to make sure that women is also empowered, this Act was enacted in the year 2005 to ensure that women also have a fair access to their father's property, right? Now, another important government initiative to ensure equality was midday meal program. Now, midday meal program simply means that children are offered free meals at their schools to ensure that there is no problem in for them coming to schools. Now, I'm sure your parents also give you a very nice and nutritious and tasty lunch to your schools. But if you look at many poor families, many underprivileged families, this opportunity is not there. In fact, many parents are unable to send their children to school, and instead they make them work, and that is why there is problem of child labor. Why? Because they don't have enough money to send their children to good schools. To solve this problem, the Tamil Nadu government launched the midday meal program. So, as I told you, a free meal, a nice nutritious meal was offered to children by the government there, and it's very important because you see a child spends 6 to 7 hours in school, and if he doesn't have a good meal, he's not able to concentrate, his or her growth is not proper. So to ensure all that, we need a good amount of food in our bodies. So the Tamil Nadu government started that scheme, and inspired by this, the Supreme Court of India made this mandatory for all the state governments to follow this program. So now we see all over our country this scheme is implemented where children are given a free meal. Now, if you see about this program, it solved more than one problem. First of all, the enrollment rate for children, it means that you're getting admission into schools. So that enrollment rate increased, and not just that enrollment rate but also the retention rate. It means that you are not pulling out of the school system, because earlier what used to happen, many parents used to send their children to school, but after class 5 or maybe class 8 they used to stop their studies and make them work or just get them out of schools. So this particular problem got solved in a big way, because now parents are ensured that their expenditure on their children is less, that they are given free meals at their schools, so they are also interested in sending their children to schools. Another major role which this program had was to ensure social equality. So whether you are the son or the daughter of a Brahmin family or a Shudra family, it does not matter. You are sitting together, eating the same meal together. And in many cases, it is Dalit women who are given the opportunity to cook these midday meals. So you can see how different caste groups, different religious groups are eating the same meals prepared by women of different caste groups, to ensure that there is no discrimination at all. And lastly, of course, the major reason why this program was implemented was to ensure nutritious food, because in our country about 35% of our children are malnourished. Means they are not getting enough nutrition in their bodies, which is required by any child, right? So because of this malnutrition, you see many diseases being spread among children. Then there is their growth is not proper, their height does not increase, their body mass is not proper. So all these problems are a result of malnutrition. So that particular problem of malnutrition is also solved because of the midday meal program. Alright, now we will discuss how does our Indian Constitution ensures equality. We discussed it in the earlier part of the chapter as well, how equality is an important aspect, important principle of our Indian Constitution. So now we will discuss in detail how exactly it is ensured. So the first point is equality before law. Equality before law simply means that nobody is above the law. It means that the law is same for everyone. So no matter what background, whether you are a rich person or a poor person, whether you are a Brahmin or a Shudra, it does not matter which religion you have, which gender you have, the law is same for everyone. You might argue that at times we hear on news that how a particular rich family got away from a particular case, or they got a bail or something. Yes, in practice, sometimes this rule of law is not implemented in a fair manner, but our constitution has this provision that there shall be equality before law. And if yes, our judiciary, if our political system works in a better manner, then we will see that there will be more fairness in our society, right? Then there is prohibition of discrimination, right? This means that there shall be no discrimination against anyone based on the religion, caste, gender, creed, ethnicity, anything, right? Earlier, we used to see how people from different communities were treated differently, and that is why our constitution has made this particular provision. Equal access to public places. Again, in medieval times, you will see that people were discriminated against when they were using different public places, like entry to a temple, or drawing water from a well, or going to a marketplace. There were discrimination on the basis of these things against people, especially from the lower caste people. They were called untouchables in our society, and that is why it is important to ensure that if there is a public place, everyone has an equal access to it. So today, if you want to visit any temple, you want to draw water from any well, any public place, any park, any garden you want to enter, you can do that. There is no discrimination against you. Of course, if it is a private property, you cannot enter into my house without my permission. But we are talking about public property, public places where there is no such discrimination, right? And yes, we discussed about untouchability. So it was a very cruel practice which has been practiced in our country for hundreds of years, where people from the so-called lower caste were mistreated by people from the upper caste, especially when it was about entering into public places. So now if anyone practices untouchability, it is in fact a very punishable offense, right? Next is abolition of titles. So titles are basically the rewards. If you do extraordinary work in any field, you get particular rewards from the governments. So first of all, an Indian citizen is not allowed to receive a reward from a foreign country. So that is number one. Number two, even if you get a reward from your own government, the government of India, you are not allowed to use that with your name. For example, many people get a Bharat Ratna, Padma Vibhushan, Padma Shri. All these awards are given by the government of India, but you are not allowed to use that before your name, right? Yes, there is always an exception, and the exception to this is educational and military titles. So if you are colonel in a military, then you are allowed to use that particular title. Or if you have got a PhD degree, if you are a scholar, so you can use the doctor before your name, like the first president of India is Dr. Rajendra Prasad. So that doctorate degree, you can use that before your name, right? And the last is, of course, access to public employment. So public employment means that we are talking about government jobs here, not private jobs. So if there's any government job, person from any background, any social and religious background, person from any gender can enrolled for that particular job, there shall be no discrimination against that person, right? Now moving to the last topic of this chapter, equality, a global struggle. Now just like we discussed about India, which we say that we are striving for equality. See, we are an unequal society because equality is an ideal. We want everyone to enjoy same opportunities, same status. But if we look around us, there is inequality practiced in one way or the other. But yes, through our government initiatives, through the provisions of the constitution, we are trying to ensure that there is more and more equality. And the situation is same for the rest of the world as well. You look at America, for example, the Afro-Americans, the black people of America who have been brought to this country through slave trade in the previous centuries, the status enjoyed by them is not same as the Native Americans and the white Americans, right? Let us look at this case study. This case study is about Rosa Parks. In 1955, this Afro-American woman was traveling in a bus. A white man asked her to leave her seat for him, but she refused. She was tired and she did not want to get up. So she remained seated. But this led to a very violent protest from the white Americans, and there was the incidents got really violent and it led to Montgomery bus boycott. Now this incident sparked a lot of tensions between the communities and led to the civil rights movement. This civil rights movement brought changes in how the dynamics between the white and the black Americans was in the country, right? So after this, we see that the black Americans, the Afro-Americans got voting rights as well, they got education as well, and even now we say that there is some kind of discrimination against the black community in America, but situation has improved many folds since 1960s and now, right? So if we look at other countries as well, like if we take example of South Africa, the policy of racial discrimination was practiced there as well. Here, under the policy of apartheid, we see how the white minority is taking control of the black majority. So even though white minority were less in number, they were making rules of segregation for the black population. How this was happening? Segregation basically means that you have different buses, you have different trains, you have different churches, different schools, different hospitals for white and black population. In fact, it is one of the worst cases of racial discrimination around the world. But through the help of leaders like Nelson Mandela and many other leaders who protested, and by 1990s we see that South Africa today is a equal and a democratic country, and it's a very good example of a country who has a very difficult past but is now on a rise, right? Similar to that, if we go to 1930s Germany, Hitler's Germany, we say the Jews were persecuted against. If we look at Myanmar in the last few years, it is the Rohingya Muslims who have been discriminated against. If we look at Pakistan, you will see how Hindus have been discriminated against, have been prosecuted against. Through all these examples, we see that people have been discriminated against, right? So this is a struggle throughout the world, and now we see whether it is India or the other democratic countries, we all are striving to ensure that there is more equality, that people do not face such kind of discrimination, right? So I hope this video lecture was useful to you. We have covered all the topics and we will see you again in the next video lecture. Thank you for watching.